Welcome to Friday Night Firelight, presented by Mortal Up. I'm Brian Brody, your host, sponsored by Nutrient Survival at nutrientsurvival.com, and of course, Firebugs at Firebugs, that's BUGGZ.com. Hello once again, and welcome back to an all-new version of Friday Night Firelight. You know what I realized is I sat down, I put my shirt on inside out. You ever do that? Getting ready to do something, and you're like, oh, I want to try to look presentable, and then you realize your shirt is on inside out. I'll spare everybody from watching me disrobe, take my shirt off and put it back on. No one wants to see this. This is allegedly a family show. Nobody wants to see that. Good evening again. Welcome. I'm very excited about our topic this evening, and if you've been near the news at all, you've heard the very, very unfortunate news. Just the horrible, traumatic loss of property, and most certainly the loss of life in the Hawaii wildfires. And your heart just goes out to everyone involved in that. And in the aftermath, you've been reading some of the stories. And one of the things now, all the experts, right? They're the people that go, let me tell you, I got my finger on the pulse. Let me tell you what to do. All the experts are talking about home hardening. What you got to do to make your home hardened from a fire threat, right? What you can do to make it less combustible. What you can do to make it, right, not susceptible to the flames. So it got me thinking, wouldn't it be great as you move through life? Wouldn't it be fantastic if you could come up with an idiot retardant, right? You wanted, from all the philosophical arsonists buzzing around you, right? Misery loves company. Their life sucks. So they got to do everything they can to torch you, to bring you down. So wouldn't it be great if you could set up a firewall? If you could set up a foundation so as to present a unified front to whatever hot air they're blowing your way? What if you could harden your head? Now, maybe it's like an idiot retardant that's a spray foam. You lay it down, or like something that you hose off your roof with, just to make certain that none of these nincompoops get in and burn your house down. Right? Philosophically, that's what we said, philosophical arsonists. So, as I sat and thought about that as a concept, how do we harden our head? It begins with our understanding of who we ultimately are. Now, here's the thing. In order for someone's opinion to register in your mind, you have to leave your mind wide open. I guess what we'd have to admit, if we're being honest with each other, and why don't we, right? I admitted that my shirt was on inside out. We should be honest with each other. For someone else's opinion to get in and ruin your day, for you to be triggered, for you to be offended, for you to be upset, for you to be, I'm mortally wounded by his words. Well, in order for that to be the case, you gotta leave your mind susceptible to the hot air of this brainiac, right? Of this bubble-wrapped brain atop a balsa wood spine trying to bring you down because you're having a great day. He or she's having a lousy day. And as I said just moments ago, misery loves company. But what if you and I could have the ability to spray, like to have a no-burn zone around us so that we don't have to listen to these dopes? What if we could? What if we could harden our heads so that none of their drool makes it through? Then, if you're really being honest, you got to go, well, I share some of the responsibility. I share at least a portion of the culpability. I'm the one that let them in. They're talking about in wildfires that single pane windows tend to break very quickly. Then the fire gets in through the windows. Embers alight on the roof, and if it's a thin roof or there's foliage or something growing, moss, something growing on the roof, well, then embers can alight there, and then pretty soon your roof's on fire. You got broken windows, this and that. So it's basically, if you have pretty thin skin and you have broken windows where you're letting all this crap in, you're leaving yourself wide open for the hot air, for the forest fire of these philosophical arsonists. So if you and I are responsible, I don't know, what do you say? You and I work to being not responsible. What if we just say, no, we're done with your craziness. We're done with your drool. Look, we feel bad. We're compassionate, folks. We feel bad that your life sucks. We feel bad. Well, let me say this. As a purist, we feel bad that you think your life sucks, but you were given a life. It does anything but suck. Maybe your attention is a little askance from where we are. But I got to tell you, I'm thrilled being an elitist. Because for the people that realize who they ultimately are, right? I was listening to Alan Watts the other day, and he was retelling a story about a Zen master that said, if you think you need to sit cross-legged, burning incense in front of you in order to be able to meditate, you're an idiot. Well, I think he said it'd be the same thing as polishing a brick, hoping to turn it into a mirror. It isn't going to work. So when it comes to meditation, when it comes to all these things they want to sell you, right? The motivation industrial complex, the higher consciousness cartel. I say all the time, what's wrong with the current consciousness that you have? Maybe you and I could just redirect it. Maybe some of these other folks, they could redirect their consciousness to know that life's a pretty great gig and there really is nothing to be all that disappointed about. Well, public opinion. Yeah, I don't care. Well, this one said this or this one said that. Yeah, really don't care. I'm not going to let the philosophical arsonist in. I'm not going to let them burn down my day with their hot air. Now, I started studying this a long time ago, a really long time ago, as you may know, when my father committed suicide. And I set aside a career. I was a police investigator in New York, and I left the police department for a couple different reasons. One, just feeling guilty because of him jumping from the building. And two, because I wanted to dedicate what abilities I had as a police investigator, as a criminal investigator, right? I wanted to dedicate myself to figuring out what happens to a human mind to get it to turn against itself. What happens to a human mind to go, wow, I just opened a window. That's 13 stories down. Now that's a damn good idea. You know what it is? You don't have a hardened head. You don't have a philosophical firewall so that all these people blowing crap into your day compel you to go, yeah, man, they're right. Life, man, this just sucks. I'm out of here. So, as you've probably heard me say before, the precursor to biological suicide is always philosophical suicide. And I think that philosophical suicide, that lack of hardening our heads, comes from the fact that we've forgotten who we ultimately are. We're not susceptible to the hot air of other people unless we open the door and let that hot air in. We're kicking back in the air conditioning. Everything's going great as a human being. Difference between a human being and a human getting, as you've probably also heard me say, human getting is constantly looking for outside accoutrement, constantly on the prowl, searching for praise, searching for what little knickknacks or whatnots or little things that make themselves feel flattered, make themselves feel adorned, make themselves little tchotchke things that they think if they can keep getting from the outside, they'll be all set. But you and I both know simplification is the deal. Simplification is the deal. If we can simplify our lives by saying we're not going to let the search, the getting this in, we're going to be in the moment at hand. We're going to be human beings. It's not about accoutrement. It's about realizing who you already are. And man, this show should just be a highlight reel of Brian's quips. But as you probably also have heard me say before, one of the most telltale events for me, although I remember nothing about it, was my first hospitalized stay, 24 hours or thereabouts, my first hospitalized stay in the hours before and the hours after, where I suffered what they call transglobal amnesia. But here is what's fascinated me. Can't remember a thing. People around me go, oh, you did this, you did that. Your mind repeated in a 10-second loop. Hey, how are you? Good. How are you? Oh, okay, great. Nice to see you. Okay, bye. Hey, how are you? Good. How are you? Hey, nice to see you. Okay, bye. Hey, how are you? Good. You get where I'm going with this. Every 10 seconds, my mind would repeat a loop. But here's the thing. I showered, I shaved, I ate, tried to drive a car. I got to tell you, I'm not all that great at driving a car, even when I'm fully conscious. But when I have amnesia, you can absolutely forget about it, I guess. Although I did make it a part of the way before I decided to try to open the door and get out at 70 miles an hour. But the point that I'm making is when I say, oh, I'd like you to not listen to your mind for just a moment, right? I'd like to talk you out of listening to the chatter in your own mind. It's because throughout that bout of amnesia, I operated great. Can't remember it. Apparently, given the conversations I've had with people that were around me, I couldn't even remember who they were. But yet my body operated, some could argue optimally, right? I went through the motions, if you will. So what is it about that sense of amnesia? Well, I have an answer. You'd be surprised surprised to hear that. My answer is we all have amnesia to a certain degree when we forget that we're human beings, not human gettings. We don't need outside opinion to thrive. We don't need outside applause. We don't have to be derailed by outside acrimony. We don't need any of those things in order to be who we ultimately are. I think most of the trouble we have stems from the fact, I know that most of the uphill that we have stems from the fact that we haven't hardened our heads, that we haven't laid down enough idiotic retardant, right? Right? Just spray it around to make sure you got enough of a wall to go, yeah, I don't have to let that craziness in. I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be here. And that's what matters most to me. Now, if I can, in a very bodhisattva way, right? If you're a Buddhist, a very bodhisattva way, you can communicate that to other people and go, just be thrilled with who you are. Just be thrilled with where you are. We talked last couple of weeks about the split personality. Oh, and I hope you like the rushing river, the rushing little waterfall there in Vail, Colorado. And it is true. I tend to look at both the flames in a fire pit and I tend to look at a rushing waterfall as a natural Rorschach test that draws my mind back out of itself, allows me not to listen to the normal din and clatter that you and I have been educated. Let's be honest, a part of the amnesia is we've been educated by the powers that be. They want you to be soured on life. They don't want you soaring through your day because you remember who you ultimately are. No. Can't have people soaring. What do we got to do? Right? Can't have that happen. So we've got to sour them. And what's the quickest way to sour them on life? Give them all kinds of baubles to obtain, and then make it nearly impossible for them to obtain them. But what if your brain, what if your sense of self, what if your memory is the only bauble you need? You know, they say all the time, the kingdom of heaven is spread upon the face of the earth, but men do not see it. Or you think, what was the one? In order to get into the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a child. Why is that? What does a child know that I don't? A child has not learned anything. That's the point. They're still thrilled with being alive, thrilled with being here. They haven't learned yet to jump through the hoops, to jump the hurdles that other people impose on them because they themselves aren't happy in life. They'll be damned if you're going to be happy, so they make all of these obstacles for you to hit because they can't have you soaring. They're too sour to be able to appreciate what they already have, so they're going to make everybody else miserable around them. There you go. That's my definition of a philosophical arsonist. They just want everyone else to be miserable because that's how they go through their day. Well, I just say enough. Maybe you and I don't want to do that. Maybe you and I can get to the point where we're thrilled just to be here, right? And as I've said to you before about split personalities, maybe you try this for 20 minutes a day. Put aside all of the hurdles, all of the obstacles, all of the potholes, everything that's thrown in your way from the time you're a little kid. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to go here, you got to go there, you got to graduate from this program, you got to graduate from that program. And there's no one more to blame, I think, than the motivation industrial complex. Here's the thing about motivation. It's all bullshit. And right, these guys are, and girls, I don't want to be sexist, guys and girls, they're drug dealers. If you have to be motivated to go through life, you're on the wrong path. You've got the wrong journey. What's wrong with planting yourself right now? In this moment, in all of time, forget the philosophical arsonists. You've laid down your idiot retardant, right? They're not coming in like ant spray outside. They're not crossing that barrier. What's wrong with just having an absolute run of the show because you're happy with who you are minus all of the accoutrement? And you and I can harden our heads. Doesn't mean we have to harden our hearts. We can still be compassionate for other people. We can let it in, but maybe 20 minutes a day we go, nah, I'm not taking crazy today. I'm not taking calls for the next 20 minutes. For this 20 minutes, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled with what I already have, which is nothing, which is great, because guess what? You can't take it with you. Then maybe later in the day, you can do another 20-minute victory if you like, right? Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe I'm insane, right? We say, if you follow me on Twitter, you see that quote that someone said, he's clearly out of his mind. And I said, that's the plan. That's the plan. If we can do that 20 in the morning, 20 at lunch, 20 in the afternoon, 20 minutes before you go to bed, just being thankful. That's the mantra that matters. Motivation. Oh, well, I've got to be motivated. I've got to be motivated to do this. Look, if you need to be motivated to be happy with yourself, you've got a defective brain. Let's just admit it. Now, I know all the higher consciousness cartel. I know, right, the guru gangs, everyone that wants you, they want you to believe, oh, you need to buy this. Oh, you need to sit this way. Oh, you need to breathe that way. Oh, you need to do this or that. No, you don't. You don't need any of it. Oh, you need to quiet your mind. Not really true. Your mind is meant to be a monkey cage, right? Your mind is meant to be a wheel with the hamster on it. Why do you go, oh, you got to get out of that? That's not necessarily true. Why not just envelop yourself in the moment at hand right now with whatever is going on? Don't be tied to it. Don't be pulled under by it. But you can appreciate it for what it is. It's all distraction. And then for your 20-minute victory, you go, I'm not going to be distracted anymore. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch the sunset. I'm going to watch the wind blow through the aspens. I'm going to watch the sun rise. I'm going to listen to the birds. I'm going to listen to the squirrels. I'm going to listen to anything I want to. That's the meaning of life, to be enveloped in the moment at hand. Harden your head so that all the cacophony of crazy can just stay out there. Leave it for other people. You don't need it. You're a human being. Let the human gettings worry about all the mashugana. All right. Oh, my good golly. I need to thank Nutrient Survival for being a sponsor of the show. Just as I say all the time, Nutrient Survival has become a staple. You should know. Last evening was birthday of one of my sons, and they wanted a Nutrient Survival shake as a part of their dessert. And then we went out to the Firebugs Fire Pit, and I need to thank Firebugs again for being a sponsor of the show. Went out to Firebugs, used the flip stick, and made some s'mores. So I'm just thrilled that these two companies have, my kids have incorporated them into their lives. And on a big day like a birthday, that's how they plan on celebrating. So check out nutrientsurvival.com, check out Firebugs, BUGGZ.com, and all the cool things they have. All right, I want to get out of here so that we can give you, this is a standalone 20-minute victory. I want to leave you with this thought. What if you weren't combustible? You're not without your permission. What if you really were fireproof? When it came to the philosophical arsonists in your life, you go, what is that? You can huff and you can puff, but you'll never blow my house down? Well, what if that nursery rhyme of the Three Little Pigs is good for you and me? Is that it, Three Little Pigs? You can huff and you can puff, but you'll never blow my house down. I'm made of brick. I've hardened my head. That's the message that I think we should take away from tonight's show. Whatever stress, whatever anxiety, whatever depression, you and I have to let it in because it doesn't thrive naturally within our skulls, within our rib cage, within our gut, within our bodies, within our brains. None of those things thrive naturally. If they make it in, It's by invitation only. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so very much for joining me. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you next week. And as always, here is your Rorschach test. See what it is that the flames within the fire pit have to say to you. Ask them, does Brian tell me the truth? Wait till you see the answer. Good night, everybody.